She just said she's holding on for dear life. Her back hurts so bad.
Well, my back hurts because I was holding on for dear life on that thing, so I don't fall.
Same.
15, 20 feet.
I'm headed out to Red Lily Vineyards today to chat with winemaker and friend, Rachael Martin. I have known Rachael for several years now. Our kiddos went to school together. But I first met her at an early World of Wine event. She was behind this little table, all by herself, pouring her Tempranillo from a decanter. And it was all really anyone could talk about that day. Have you tasted that Tempranillo? It's so good. Well, a lot has changed since that little table at World of Wine, and I've kept up with Rachael and certainly her winemaking journey. So today, I'm headed out to Red Lily to visit my friend Rachael, right smack dab in the middle of harvest. I'm sure she's thrilled with my timing. What harvest is this for you?
This is the 23rd harvest.
23rd harvest. And how old's Lily?
Lily's 23.
Crazy.
Yeah, so the first harvest, the day I left for work, she was brand new, and I left her crying with my mom. It's weird to think about the time in that way, just how many years it's been.
What feelings do you get when harvest is upon you? Is there anxiety? Is there anticipation?
There's all of those feelings. I think that there's the excitement and the anticipation, and in about mid-August you start tracking weather in a really neurotic way, just like what we're looking out AccuWeather 30 days from now. And I think the one thing that has changed is I used to feel a lot more worried, just a lot more anxiety in the early years about, all of the unknowns. And so 23 years into it, I just know that there are going to be a lot of unknowns. Like every vintage is going to throw you something that you haven't seen before, and you have enough tools in the toolbox at this point to deal with it head on, or enough friends and mentors in the wine business that you can reach out and say, hey, have you ever seen this? The other thing that's definitely changed is, I'm having to really stretch out in the morning and at night. I'm having to really do those kinds of things that at 29, they weren't on your radar.
Yeah.
So that's a thing too.
What do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to winemaking? That it's glamorous?
I think that's definitely the biggest one. I think that people tend to imagine it, and I was one of these people at a certain point in time too, where it's a lot of swirling your glass and kind of pontificating, nuances of flavor. And so there is some of that, and those days are, few and far between. But what there is that people don't realize, it's getting, early mornings. It's getting stung by yellow jackets all day. It's getting poison oak. It's doing 99% cleanup in order to do the work. So it's a lot more manual labor than I think people would realize.
I know your story a little bit because you've been on my podcast. What did I write down? Episode 74. That was in 2019.
Yeah, that
crazy.
That was such a fun day for me. And I walked in there basically wearing this same outfit, and I didn't realize that the podcast was also going to be on video. And then I was like, oh, shoot.
My bad.
I should have worn my good black hoodie.
My bad. That's my bad. I know you didn't start out with this dream to make wine. Mm-hmm. In fact, I learned about you in that interview. You were looking for counterfeit goods.
Yes.
That was your job.
Yes, that was my job.
Criminology, right?
Yes.
A drastic U-turn, right, into the winemaking world. Did you have an aha moment? Was there a light bulb moment for you when it comes to winemaking?
I think it was that first vintage that I got to work back in 2001, and it was I mean, there were a lot of moments at that time. You know, I had gone to school for something, you know, completely different and worked in that field. And when I got in that field, I was having success in it because I was working very hard, but internally, I just felt like it wasn't a good fit for me personally. It was a mix of exhilaration, and there's something so good about growing something and tending to it, and then taking it all the way to a bottle that's a celebratory drink. I feel like that once you're a part of something like that and it really resonates with you, it just becomes a part of you. And also, you know, those early years, it was a lot of self-talk in my head, like, okay, can I do this? You know, there weren't a lot of women doing it at the time, and you look around and, you know, a lot of the equipment and the machinery and the grape growing, there's a lot to learn. And so you're like, could I eventually do this on my own? So, you know, I had a 45-minute drive home all the way, and you know, the talk was like, gosh, can I do it? Can I do it? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna open the valve at the bottom.
Okay.
And it's, then I'm going to, I've got this whole pulley system, since I'm usually the only person in here, so I can pulley that to the top. And then what we'll do, is we will spray the top. We'll take the wine from the bottom, spray the top, and punch down the cap using its own weight with the liquid. You can feel the heat coming off this.
Oh yeah.
It's a chance to, you know, just smell how the fermentation smells, if everything's behaving right. And we'll take, after we do this pump over, then we'll take the temperature and the bricks too after it's been really pumped over, like mixed up. I'm just doing everything in the most low impact way ever. So, and that's in the vineyard, and it's also in the winemaking. I'm trying to just do as just as minimal amount of intervention as possible.
For sure, yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Ooh.
Nice. It's warm, right? It's about 80 degrees.
We could swim in this, Rachel.
You could. It'd be your last swim, I think.
I first met you at an early World of Wine event. Mm-hmm. Just you, all by yourself, behind this little table, pouring your Tempranillo from a decanter.
Right.
And I was thinking about that. I'm like, man, a lot has changed.
A lot has changed.
Since that little table.
Right. Right. I remember the fear I felt at that little table, you know, just like, gosh, you've spent so much time, energy, and financial resources to get your label together to get started, and you know, you're pouring it in a public event, and at that point you haven't developed the thick skin that you need when you have put yourself out there in a bottle form, and you have some people that, you know, are going to love it, and some people that it's not their cup of tea. So it's, you know, it's such a personal thing, and I just remember being at that table. I look back at those times and just thinking how I juggled those times, you know, and for all of those hard moments that the juggle entailed. You know, I mean, Lily would come down and do her homework in the lab, you know, while I was sitting by the press at night, or, you know, Riley'd make me a peanut butter sandwich and drive the quad down with it. It's just, and the kids, you know, the kids grew up like that, and they understand how to work hard.
Slowly scooting up. So impressed. I mean, I was impressed before I ever tried doing it myself, just like watching her in high school. But now that I'm actually doing it and seeing like how much strength it all requires, my mom always says that she's like ripped, like super muscular.
Well, not like ripped.
No,
ripped.
but she is. She is. I mean, because like how hard all of this work is. I mean, it's. I'm really impressed too. I don't know how you've been doing it. I'm impressed.
It's girl power camp around here right now.
Yeah.
she says this is her first harvest she's worked, but she's worked a lot in the vineyard and a lot of jobs around here growing up. But this is the first time she's been actually full-time doing it. And it's, for me, just like such a incredible, unique opportunity, because I feel like when you work with your kids when they're adults and you're working on something that is a time-sensitive project that takes a lot of work, a lot of long hours, it gives you this bond that is just really unique. It's like you talk about, we'll talk about this forever. It's like, remember all the bears that, remember when we were sampling the grapes with the bear spray that year? Or remember when,
You're making memories.
Yeah, just making memories. And it's just, I feel like it's a unique opportunity to get to do that together, and it's the best for me. Like first part of September, I'm going out and sampling all the grapes. And so I'd come to a block and then I'd be like, what's this? I mean, this isn't bird damage. And then, you see like signs of bears up there and they've like torn the fences down. And so I'm like, okay, well, we have to pick this block tomorrow or there's not going to be anything left to pick. Oh, and so then we pick it, bring it into the winery, and then I run the numbers, perfect numbers, like perfect sugar, perfect pH. It's like we're just basically following the bears around, and the block they hit, if I wrote it in a book, they'd put it in fiction, but it's like the reality.
Was this the vision?
So this was never the vision. Always the vision was to just make the wine and, grow the grapes and make the wine. And that's the part, I really love. It becomes really clear early on that you need a way to sell the wine in order to keep making the wine. So pretty easy equation on that. And so it became clear, the idea evolved to, hey, I really feel like we need a tasting room, a place where people can come and identify our brand, where we can tell our story, because really the amount that we're making, about 3,000 cases a year is not enough to be widespread and distributed. So it really needs to be like a personal, people coming to you and learning about your product. So this is the Lily Girl. It is almost a straight split of 50% Tempranillo and 50% Grenache. Mm-hmm. So it's, which I think that blend is really nice for rosé. And this is about 15 bricks. And it started off as like 22 and a half. So we're just like over the hump of like we're not at the midpoint yet, but it has about as much alcohol as like a beer at this point. So you can see it's like really active, foamy.
That's fun.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pour you some.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Smells good. Doesn't that taste so yummy?
So yummy. Let's drink it now.
So yummy. I just, the rosé and the white wine, they just taste so great. Like if you could bottle it at this point and keep it, some of it, but then also like take it all the way to wine. I mean, this is yummy.
It's like punch.
It's really good. I mean, yeah, this could be a sneaky drink.
I can't believe I've never asked you this. I mean, I know Lily, obviously, but Red Lily, the name.
So it comes from two different things. So it is a small lily, Bolander's lily, that grows in the area, and Lily, obviously for our daughter. But, I really wanted something. It's hard to come up with a name too. it seems like it would be easier than it is, but it's just like how you start off, I think, in your branding on what the name is going to be. It's like you want to get it right in the beginning and have this idea of what it could look like in logos and what it means to you is really important. So it took a lot of time. It took us a year to come up with the first label for the Red Lily Tempranillo. And I think that I really wanted the label to be something that was strong and feminine and different. And I think, I also think the Australians always do such an interesting job with their wine labels because they have, some of their names create this pause where you say, wait, I'm going to reread that. And I think if you can do that with your brand, that creates some kind of pause where somebody might give you a second look on a shelf is good. And I think a lot of people, when they think of lilies, they think of white lilies. So what is red lily?
For sure.
Yeah. And at that time, in the early days too, I really didn't think that I was ever going to make white wine. So so there's that too.
Right, right. Oh, how things have changed.
Yes.
Okay, so all the way down?
All the way down.
Oh yeah, this is...
Yep, and then you just move it over so you covered all the surface. I love the smell of this.
I love the smell.
And like I said, I really love to just visually be able to see, like, you can see that this is active and doing well. And so when you get to where all of the sugar has been converted to alcohol, what happens is it becomes really soupy in here. So to punch it down, it's just, I mean, it's almost like stirring it. And so at that point, you begin tasting it every day to make a determination on when you're going to press it. And when you're tasting the wines at that point, they taste really kind of yucky, to be honest. I mean, they're hot and kind of tannic and gritty, and they're, it makes you just want to drink beer during harvest. This is just like, we just have a baby amount of these bins in right now, but in about a week, we are going to have this whole room full of bins. And that's when the punch downs become like no joke. That's when I'm gonna call on the young back over there to do them.
But you can feel, just doing that, you can feel the heat coming up.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Almost like if you were cooking or baking, like almost like you've got a pot of soup on the stove and you want to, you know, it's like hotter on the edges where the burner is, and you want to just, I mean, I'm a bad cook, but you know, you'd want to just distribute, like stir it to distribute the heat throughout.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. For you as a young girl, because I certainly was, I didn't want to be dirty. I didn't want to be sticky.
Yeah.
For the most part, I was very much a girly girl. Were you like that at all? Were you a little bit of a tomboy?
I guess I would say I was kind of a mix of the two. Okay. Like, I wanted my hair to look good, but I didn't care about getting dirty.
I can relate to that. I think my point of that question is, I feel like with winemaking at some point, you get over this hump of like bugs, being stung, getting dirty, being sticky with grape juice. Like you're just like, okay, we're done.
You do. You absolutely do.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not, you know, I did paint my fingernails today because I knew you were coming and they looked so bad, stained with wine. So I guess I'm in the middle still.
I think that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Good place to be.
Yeah.
Looking around here, what would 2001 Rachel think about all of this?
I don't even think 2001 Rachel would have thought about this, or just, I don't know. She would have probably been more scared than she was back in 2001.
Can I ask you about Red Lily being for sale?
Yes.
What's the latest with that? I mean, is it something that you're still looking to go through?
It is still for sale, and it's been a unique and challenging position for me to have it on the market. It definitely wouldn't be my first choice. So it's sometimes and it's definitely an emotional thing for me. So it's hard to answer the questions. Sometimes it's hard to have it on Zillow. It's those are all challenging things for me. I also think that I'm such a person that's a planner, and like, what do the next steps look like? That it has forced me to just really be in the moment and be just not thinking about so many things, you know, so many possibilities, and really just trying to stay focused and keep doing what I'm doing at the highest level that I can. So that has been the positive side of that.
It's hard to do. It's hard to stay.
It's hard to do.
It's hard to stay in the moment when something that's so emotional, that you're emotionally attached to.
Right.
In that position.
So that's been the gift of it for me, if you want to look at that way. So it's hard to know how things will unfold. You know, you always, when you have a place like this, you know, you think about it as like, could this be a legacy property for, you know, one of the kids to continue? So there's a lot of emotion tied up in it for me. And sometimes it's difficult too, because it's such a public thing that you're trying to kind of like personally navigate in a public setting, if that makes sense.
Well, and everybody asks you about it.
Yeah, they do. And they do. And it's sometimes it's just hard to answer it. I mean, I'm getting better at answering it than I used to be.
Yeah.
So
do you kind of have the feeling like maybe, and this is how I feel, I go through life, kind of let the universe just, what happens, and it's going to be the best thing to happen to Red Lily?
Yes. And I definitely think about that. I mean, for all of these years that I've gotten to do this, and it's just like better than I could have ever imagined. And all of those things are so positive. And I just feel like, you know, we're all kind of passing through anyway. And so if there was a time where I had to drive across the bridge and leave it in the back, you know, it's internal. It's just an internal thing, you know, like that's heartbreaking.
That's heartbreaking to even think about, Rachel.
It is, but in a lot of ways it is, but in a lot of ways it's just, you just have to think about like all of the positives. So yeah, I'd be driving away a different person than I arrived.
I think you also have to that's why you have to think about today.
Right.
Like today you have grapes to deal with. You have Verdejo to press.
Yeah. I'm getting to do it with my daughter. I mean, she's on the forklift, day 2, moving grapes around. I mean, that's the greatest part.